We'll start with the last class sloka. You want to say it aloud?
Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalaheturvhu ma te sangostava karmini.
Okay. So you want to tell the meaning also?
The meaning is you should do your work diligently, and your work should not be done because of the result or the goal.
Or the goal? Goal. Last class we discussed the difference between goal and result, right? We should be guided by the goals, but not by the results. Results is not in our hands, but goals are in our hands. So we should always be guided by the goals. We should set goals, but we should not be concerned about the results because the results are not in our hands. That was a lesson from the last class, right? And that's the meaning of this sloka. And this sloka is the signature sloka of Bhagavad Gita. It's very important. Okay, we will now. But yeah, you're doing a good job memorizing the slokas, and of course, I'm showing it on the screen, but that I don't think you're looking at it and reading, so which is really good. So let's move on to the next sloka now. This also is an important sloka. All the slokas in the second chapter are kind of important. So this one goes, dukhesu anudvignamanah sukeshu vigata spruhaha वीतराग भय क्रोधः स्थितधीर muniruchyate. So what does it mean? First word is dukhesu. What is dukkha? Dukkha is misery, in the threefold miseries, right? Anudvignamanah means without being agitated in the mind. So when there are miseries, we do not want to be agitated in the mind. Agitated means feeling struggling and feeling restless in the mind and sorrowness and all that stuff. Now the other state, sukheshu. Sukha means happiness, right? Sukheshu means in happiness. Vikatas praha, without being interested. Vigata means without. Spruha means, spruha means taking interest or consciousness and things like that. So vigata spruhaha means without being interested. That means in the happiness, we want to be as if we are not interested. Vita means free from. Raga, V is a negative form, right? So Vita means free from. Raga, there is one kind of raga which is the raga in music. There's another kind of raga which means attachment. Anuraga, in a common word in Indian language is anuraga. Anuraga is also like attachment. Raga is attachment. Bhaya means, what is the meaning of bhaya? In all Indian languages, it has the same meaning.
Scaredness?
Yeah, fear. Krodha means anger. Sthitadhi means whose mind is steady. Dhihi means, right? Dhihi, Gayatri mantra. Dhihi means buddhihi. Buddhi is what? It's all to do with mind. So, Dhihi is mind. Sthita means which is stable. So sthitadhi means whose mind is steady. Muni means a sage. You all know that, right? In our languages, Indian language, sage means a muni means a sage. Uchyate means is called. Uvacha, you remember Uvacha, right? Like that, Uchyate means is called. So the meaning is he whose mind is not shaken by adversity, who does not hanker after pleasures, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called a sage of steady wisdom. So, what is the essence of this sloka? We should not be scared or perturbed or disturbed by difficulties, sadness. If troubles come, we should not be disturbed. And when pleasure comes, when happiness, there are moments of happiness, we should be free from attachment, fear, and anger. Um, so when there is happiness, we should not hanker. I mean, we should not take too much interest in happiness either. Remember, we talked about swing. If you are attached to happiness, you'll also get attached to sorrow. Sadness and happiness are two extremes uh, to which the mind swings. Its mind is basically a swing. So when you, what happens in a swing? If somebody pushes you to the one extreme, you'll automatically come to the other extreme, right? The farther you push to the other extreme, the farther you'll come to this extreme, right? In a swing. So that's what happens to the mind. When you push it too much towards the happiness, then it will also come back to the sadness. So it's like a swing. Mind is like a swing which moves between happiness and sadness. So that is why Lord Krishna is saying that don't go towards happiness, don't go towards sadness. Then the swing will be stable, steady. Your mind will be steady. You'll be free from attachment, fear, and anger. And such a person who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, and who does not, who remains calm, whether it is sadness or happiness, is called a sage of steady wisdom. So that is the wisdom that people gain with lot of knowledge and experience through the births or in the same birth or something, right? So this again, it kind of confirms what we learned earlier. We don't want to get attached to either pleasures, nor do we want to get attached to the sadness. Both are equally powerful. Sad things and happiness, both are equally powerful. They have the power to pull your mind towards it. When you do something and you're happy, your mind would like to do it again and again and again, right? You want happiness. And similarly, when you have sadness, your mind keeps on going towards sadness. It will keep on thinking, oh my God, this is what is going to happen to me. How am I going to survive? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? So it keeps on pulling your mind towards sadness. So both are essentially characteristics of mind. And if you do one, you'll automatically do the other. So that is the reason why it's like a swing. The mind is a swing, basically, moving from one end to the other all the time. So that is the reason why um, we should always remain calm, whether it is sadness or happiness, right? So that is, such a person is called a sage, and a sage of steady wisdom. So wisdom is, is intelligence which matures, is called wisdom, right? So um, how do we be like this? So there are some techniques. One technique, like we saw last time, right? Vishnu Purana. in Vishnu Purana, remember, there is we think that we do everything to satisfy God. So that is one technique. So similarly, we should say that all pleasures and miseries are the mercy of Lord, right? So if you get punished, you should think of it as, if something bad happens to us, then we should think of it as God's will. The God wants us to go through this. Maybe He wants us to improve by going to, remember the loss function. The more hardships we face, the more we learn and the better we become. So maybe God wants us to become better. Maybe that is the reason why He is testing us. Maybe that is the reason why He is giving us all these troubles. So just like you accept prasadam from the God, you should also accept hardships or difficulties from the God as prasadam, as given by Him, right? So that is, then if you do that, then you will not feel agitated, you will not feel bad, you will only learn, right? And similarly, in case of happiness, something good happens to you, then do not take the credit to yourself. Give the credit to the God, right? Um, after the puja is a very powerful thing, right? It cleanses your mind, it strengthens your mind, and it makes you determined. So there are a lot of positive things that happen with puja. And at the end of puja, what do? We say kayena vacha manasendriyaiर्वा buddhyatvana va prakrute svabhava karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeति samarpayami. So what that means is, whatever we do with our kaya means body, kayana vacha means word, manasa means mind. Whatever we did with body, mind, words, that's what we do in puja, right? We use our body, our mind, and words. Bhujyatvana prakrute swabhavat karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai. So we are offering all that, all the results of our puja back to the Lord, right? So like that, we should think the same thing. We are happy we got these good things happen to us only because of the God. It is not because of us, but it is because of the God's greatness. He wants to show mercy on us. So that is the reason why we are happy today. So that is see these philosophies were actually put in practice by my elders, my grandmother, my father, my parents, and grandparents. They used to always say this. When there are difficulties, they would say, why am I being tested, God? Why am I being put to this test? So they used to think that the difficulties are a test by God to see whether we withstand the test or not. So they used to always say that. Why are we being put to this pariksha? Pariksha means test. And then when they're happy, they used to say that it's all, even today, um, uh, my mom says that whatever good happens, it is God's grace. So we implement that. Um, so of course, even when we implement it, it's difficult to stay calm, right? But it comes with a lot of practice. In one of the later slokas, Lord Krishna explains how to practice, how to control your mind, right? But these are some of the techniques. Take all difficulties as mercy of God, and all happiness give credit to the God. Think that the God inside you deserves the credit and not you yourself. So basically realize that it is only because of the God's grace that we are in such a comfortable position, right? I think Lord Buddha said this. He said that when you're angry about somebody with somebody, it's like drinking poison and thinking that the other person will die. Right? When you're angry with somebody, yes, what is your anger going to do? It's not going to do anything to the other person. It's going to only trouble you, right? It doesn't do anything to the other person. So that is the reason why anger is not a good thing. Fear, anger, these are all not good things. So we should not be angry even if our attempts are unsuccessful. We try really very hard, but still we may be unsuccessful. Just because we are unsuccessful, we should not be angry. So there is something called Krishna consciousness in particularly in this ISKCON or Prabhupada, Swami Prabhupada's teachings. There is something called Krishna consciousness. So it's a state where you are in the presence of God. It's like you're in the consciousness of Krishna, Lord Krishna. So Sthitadhi Muni. Sthita means steady. Dihi means mind. A steady-minded Muni. Muni means sage. A steady-minded Muni is always in Krishna consciousness. He is fixed in his mind, and he is a sage, fixed in steady mind. His mind does not swing between happiness and sadness. Another example is that of a tortoise, right? You all know what tortoise does, right? At any time, it can take its senses back and exhibit them again at any time for particular purposes, right? So you know how tortoise, right, does, right? It takes everything into its shell. Everything goes into the shell. You can only see the shell sometimes. But when it is required to uh, when it is required to when the head and the other things are required, it brings them out. It starts sensing them, sensing the environment, right? So we should be like that. It should be in our control what we sense and what we don't sense, because happiness and sadness have to be sensed. You cannot simply ignore them. Oh, okay, something bad is happening. You cannot say, oh, that's okay, it's not good. Like for instance, the fire, right? The wildfires, right? We were so scared. So instead of getting scared and crying and all that, you can remain calm. But remaining calm doesn't mean that, oh, everything is God's wish. I'm going to die in the fire. That's not the way it should work, right? You should realize, you should still feel sense the difficulty, right? Just like the tortoise senses the difficulty, you should still sense the difficulty. Just like the tortoise senses the environment. But it should be in your control. You should decide when to sense and when not to sense. So that is important, right? Um, and the other thing is not to react. Last class we talked about lotus flower and gold and all that, right? So they don't react. They don't get muddied. Lotus doesn't get muddied. Similarly, even though it resides in the mud, it is born from the mud, it doesn't get muddied, right? So, and similarly, gold also does not react. That is why it's called noble. So, in fact, it is said that a good way of meditating, another good way of meditating is always imagine golden color inside you. Assume that this golden rays are passing through you. Your body is shiny and gold is passing through. That is another way of meditating. So so that way, what does that mean? It means that you will behave like gold. It is same as imagining God inside you. right? Both have the same effect. When you imagine God inside you, you feel you will start behaving like God. I mean, you will imbibe some of the characteristics, qualities of God. That is the reason why the people say that you should keep on reciting Vishnu Sahasranama, because it's a list of 1,000 qualities. When you keep on meditating upon the 1,000 qualities, then you become you start exhibiting those 1,000 qualities. So just like that, if you start imagining gold inside you, golden glow inside you, then you will start behaving like gold. You will not react so much, right? So that is one other technique people say that you can try to use. But it is very important. This sloka, see, last sloka, there was some confusion between goal and result. Same thing with this sloka. So this sloka is not asking you to simply ignore all difficulties, ignore all pleasures, and do not take any action. It's not saying that. It is saying that pain and pleasure are only for learning. See, without pain, how are you going to learn? If there's no loss function, how is the machine learning program going to learn, right? So it should be used only for learning, objectively, not subjectively. Think that it is not happening to you. It is happening to something that you own. Remember, who are you? You are the body or you are the soul?
Soul.
Yeah, you are the soul. So whatever bad is happening, it is happening to something that you own, which is your body, not to you. Remember, nothing can destroy the soul. Fire cannot destroy the soul. It cannot burn the soul. Water cannot drench it. You remember that sloka, right? So nothing can happen to you. Whatever bad or good is happening, it's only happening to something that you own, which is the body. You have a responsibility to take care of your body. So think like that. Do not subjective. You know the difference between subjective and objective, right? Subjective means you take it personally. Objective means you do it as if it is for others. I mean, you have no selfishness in there. So think of pain and pleasure very objectively, not subjectively, right? And that is what is that is what happens with the machines. See, machines learn, right? We talked about so much of machine learning, self-driving cars, and all that stuff. So there's another kind of learning, which is called reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning, we are going to look at it a little bit today. Reinforcement learning basically learns from pain and pleasure, just like people learn from pain and pleasure, right? So that is, but very objectively. There's no subjectivity at all. So the difference, these slokas, the differences are very subtle. The meaning is very, very delicate. So the difference between goal and the result is very delicate, right? People get confused between goal and result. So the previous sloka did not ask you to ignore the goals. It in fact suggests that you should do actions, and actions should be goal driven. Only thing is, result is not in your control, so don't think about result. That's what the previous sloka said. And similarly, in this case, the sloka is not, the Lord Krishna is not asking us to simply ignore all the pain and pleasure and be in a steady state without taking any action. He's not asking that. He's asking that we should take the pain and pleasure very objectively, as if it's not happening to us, but it is happening to, because it's our responsibility to take care of pain and pleasure. Think of it as a responsibility rather than as something happening to you. Then all this pain and pleasure will not be there. Right? See, human beings invented computers which behave like that. See, machine learning and computers themselves, are they affected by the result? Just because you run a bad program, is it going to abuse you? Is it going to shout at you? Is it going to beat you? No. Does it get angry? Or just because you come with a huge program which can crash it or which can make it run for days, is it going to shout at you? Is it going to get scared? No. See, we invented machines which behave in the way that God wants, but we ourselves are not like that, right? So it is very important that we should kind of be like machines in a lot of respects. We should be like machines observing good models, right? We should be unaffected by what happens, the results, and what could happen, uh, um, and we should be totally unattached. But we should do our job just like the machine does its job. Whatever we give it, it simply does it, executes it, right? So we should be like that. See, a few weeks back, the temperature was really high and the laptop was struggling. Do you remember? It was not able to process audio. Audio was not audible and all that stuff. But still, it did its best, right? Did it start feeling sorrow about it and start underperforming? Because when you're sad, you'll underperform. You will not perform to your fullest extent, right? When you're sad, your mind has to be happy. Happy in the sense not pleasure, but it should be in the state, the normal state. Normal state is happiness, bliss. It's called bliss. So we should be in that state, but not the pleasureful state or in the painful state. In this sloka, happiness means not the blissfulness, but the pleasure which comes from material things, things that happen in the world. So that is the happiness that this sloka is talking about. It's not the happiness that people are born with. Every person is born to be happy by default, right? See, child, if you are children, you don't know a lot of pain that is in the world. When did Buddha know about pain? After quite some years. When he was a child, he didn't know about the pain. He married, he got children, and then he he saw the pain. He understood pain. So pain is not something that is readily. And people are not born with pain. They are always born in a steady, happy state. The stable state is state of happiness. But over a period of time, as we start experiencing little pains and little pleasures, the swing starts increasing. Initially, when you're born, the swing is stable, steady. Your mind. By when I say swing, it is your mind. Your mind is stable, steady. Then after a little bit this way, a little bit that way, happiness, sadness. And as you grow, the swing starts increasing. And you go from one extreme to other extreme, one extreme to other extreme. So that is when the swing is uncontrollable, is when the person is almost lost. He doesn't know what he will be doing. He doesn't know what. So that is the reason why it's always better to be uh, um, in a stable state. Do not let the mind become a swing, and do not, even if it becomes a swing, do not let it go wild. Very important, right? So that is the important thing. So we should be like machines. Like we should still feel the pain and pleasure, but we should use it only to take actions, to learn something, right? So that is the important part. So it is just like reinforcement learning. There is something called reinforcement learning. We will see what reinforcement learning means, right? So this is a branch of machine learning. This is one of the kinds of machine learning, right? We talked about GANs, generative adversarial network. So this is another kind of learning. So in this learning, it goes by some examples, right? So one of the examples is like a game of backgammon. This is a common game which is used in, you know that? Is it played today in US?
We have the board game downstairs.
Backgammon?
Yeah.
Oh, so it is one of the oldest known board games. It originated in Egypt and it is still played in Egypt. And you're saying that it is played in US also. Okay, that is good.
Older
So
than chess?
what?
Older than chess?
Yeah, it is older than chess. It is considered the oldest known board game. So when I was teaching this to students, one of my students was from Egypt. He was really very happy when he saw this because he said that even today they play backgammon a lot. So I don't know how it goes, but based on certain moves, you either win, and based on certain moves, you may lose. Is that right? Okay, you never played it. Okay, but just like in chess, I think. So based on the moves, a person wins or loses. So with experience, people become, people improve, right? Like in chess, the more the number of games you play, the better you become. You understand when how to win and how to when not to lose, right? So you slowly gain. How do you gain that? How do you gain that experience? By making trials, hit and trial. You take a step, and then based on the step, you will know whether you took a good step or a wrong step, bad step. So the same thing happens in machine learning. So another example, right? So if an agent makes a left, then right, then straight, then left, 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 straight, then the feedback is good. That means these moves are really good. And suppose on the other hand, the agent makes a left, goes straight, continues to go straight, then left, right, straight, straight, then these moves are considered bad. So for the good moves, for this kind of good moves, the agent gets a positive pleasure or reward of 18.5, a score of 18.5. Whereas for the bad move, the agent gets a punishment as a score of -3. So for every move, there is a reward. It could be plus or minus. Plus is like a pleasure, minus is like a pain, right? Just like in Bhagavad Gita, right? Pleasure and pain. But these machines, unlike human beings uh, who take everything personally and subjectively and feel bad or feel happy, feel excited, and all that stuff, machines remain in a steady state. They don't have any feelings, right? Without any feelings, they just execute these steps. So here's an example, a pictorial, a diagram. So there's an agent in reinforcement learning. The agent learns from interaction. So this is the agent. Just like a small child, how does a small child learn to walk? The child he looks at all the people around him who are walking and thinks, oh, these people are walking with two legs, whereas I'm crawling with my hands and two legs. So I'm using four limbs, whereas the people are using just two legs. So why don't I try to use just my two legs? And he'll try to use two legs. What happens?
He'll fall.
He'll fall down. So that's a what is the reward? Is it a pleasant thing or as a punishment?
Punishment.
It's a punishment. So he gets a punishment as a reward, right? So the child takes an action, and what is the environment?
The people around him.
No, not really. The environment is the one which gives him the reward, the punishment, or the pleasure. So what is that? The floor, maybe, right? It could be the floor, or a floor, and yeah, the external environment is all the floor, basically, right? So the floor, which is the environment, gives a reward, which is actually a punishment by making the boy fall down. The gravity, right? The floor, the gravity, all that is environment. Um, uh, and the boy, is the boy still in the same state of crawling? No, he gets into a new state, and that new state is basically falling down. So the boy takes an action, the environment uh, puts him in a different state and gives him a reward. And the state and reward are perceived, that means felt by the boy, right? The same thing happens in machine learning, in reinforcement learning. So just like the boy receives some evaluation of his action, so receiving the feedback is called reinforcement, right? You're basically reinforcing. But you should remember one thing: the boy is not told which action is correct one and which action is wrong. He has to experiment and find out, right? When the child learns to walk, he has to experiment. Mostly it's by experiment, right? So so beforehand he's not told what is. Nobody can tell him, right? Who can tell him that if you slowly lift your leg like this, then you try to stand up, then you may fall. Nobody is able to tell to that extent. Even parents will not be able to tell. The boy himself discovers it. So based on that action, or based on the reward, the boy understands that that action is not good. So he'll try some other move. So what the other move could be, maybe crawl to a chair, then hold on to the chair and slowly stand up. Right? That is the next action the boy may take. Then the environment with the chair might put him in a new state, which possibly could be stand up for some time. And the reward is positive. He has learned something, right? So the child perceives both the new state of standing up and the reward of the satisfaction the child gets from standing up. Right? So all this happens without anyone telling the boy what is good and what is bad beforehand. He has to learn by experience, right? It's all by experiences and interacting with the external environment. That's how the agent learns. The same thing in reinforcement learning. The agent, which is the machine, keeps taking actions and gets a new state and reward from the environment. Right? So that's how the machine works when it is reinforcement learning. Remember, we talked. I told you that everything is math. Everything in this world is basically math. It is the heart of matter. Everything in the world you should be able to express in math. Then you can do wonders. So that's what we will do here. So in math, there is something called as Markov decision process. So in Markov decision process, there are 4 aspects. One is state, a set of states, right? The agent.
I think this method is named by a famous mathematician.
Right. His name is Markov, right? Yeah. So so you're right. This is given by a famous mathematician. So this mathematician came up with this model. So the model has 4 sets, basically. F is a set of states, because remember the child goes from one state to other. So it is a set of states. So for the child, the set of states are standing up, crawling, falling down, and things like that. And there's a set of actions denoted by capital A. Sets are denoted by capital letters, right? set of actions. For the child, the actions could be standing up, crawling to the chair, and so on. So those are the set of actions. And then there is a set of probabilities called T. What is the probability?
It's
Right. Good. Probability is basically a chance of something. So this T is a set of such probabilities of the agent taking an action A in state S and reaching a new state S dash. So the way you read this probability notation is probability of S dash given S and A. That means we are given that the agent is currently in state S and the agent is going to take an action A and he will reach, what is the probability, what is the chance that the agent is going to reach the state S dash. S dash is a new state. So that is the probability. So it's basically, so it's called the transition probability of an agent in state S taking an action A and reaching S dash, right? So that's what it means. So that is T. And what is R? Can you guess what is R? So we thought, what is R? R is basically reward. Remember we talked about state, agent, action, reward, right? So R is basically the expected reward. How do you find the expected reward? You find the expected reward by adding the probabilities multiplied by the rewards. The rewards are every action has a reward, right? Either it could be plus or it could be minus. So that reward multiplied by the probability, the transition probability that we described before, you sum all such probabilities multiplied by the rewards for all the actions, you get the total reward, right? So those are the four sets or four parameters, STAR, star. So that's called the Markov decision process model. So just like in the previous slide, so we had an agent, environment, state, reward, action. Only thing is this time it's a bit inverted. So the agent, in the diagram, environment is at the bottom. In the previous slide, environment was at the top, but in this figure, the environment is shown in the bottom, and agent is at the top. So the same thing. Agent takes an action, and the environment puts it in a different state, puts the agent in a different state, and also gives a reward. So here's an example. Initially, the agent was in state S0, takes an action A0, and reaches a state S1. So S0 could be like crawling. The first state, the boy learning to stand up is crawling. S0 is crawling. A0 is basically trying to let go of his hands and use only two legs. That is the action. And the state that the child is going to be in is fall down. Right? So S1 is basically fall down. And the reward that the child gets is a punishment, R0. So from S0, the child has gone to S1 by taking an action A0, gets a reward R0. Now, based on that, the child takes another action A1, reaches a state S2, and gets a reward R1. And this goes on and on and on, right? Until the child learns. Right? Is that clear? So this is the fundamental principle of reinforcement learning. It's a software, just like generative adversarial network. This is implemented in software, a program, right? and people built really great things using this technique. So one example is the helicopter built by Stanford University. Stanford University, you all know, is just 10 miles away from here, right? So they built this helicopter using reinforcement learning. See, Stanford University, autonomous, it goes by itself. There's no driver in the helicopter. It is learning by itself how to move, where to move, when to move, and all that. You see, it's all reinforcement learning, software, the software content. There's no driver inside. There's no pilot.
That's a cool helicopter. Does it use any sensors?
Okay. Isn't that cool? See, you can do such.
Wow, so cool.
Yeah, see, just with that a simple concept of reinforcement learning, they could build autonomous helicopter, which flies in the sky all by itself, right? So, see, we should be like that. We should basically do our, see, the helicopter is simply doing its duties based on pain and pleasure, reward, right? It does not have any feelings. So we should also be like that. We should not have any feelings. Feelings is what troubles us, puts us in trouble, because we take everything personally. That is why we are misusing. Pain and pleasure are meant for us to learn. Like the helicopter learned using pain and pleasure. Pain and even in self-driving cars, it's not just helicopters, but even in self-driving cars, there's a lot of reinforcement learning going on, right? There is something called supervised learning. You remember supervised learning? Like, so there's a supervision, right? There's supervised learning going on, and there's reinforcement learning. Same with um, people also should be like that. We should just take lessons from pain and pleasure and do our duties based on the lessons, the loss function, right? The reward. In reinforcement learning, it is called reward. In supervised learning, it's the loss function, right?
Can I have just a restroom?
Yeah, sure. In the meantime, uh, we'll just go over the simple things like study goals and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go and come back. So remember we were talking about the goals. Uh, so where were we? We were applying. So it is very important that it's not enough if you just hear these lessons as stories, right? You should also learn. You should also apply the learning. You should also apply the key lessons from each of the verse in your daily life. So when you apply, tell to yourself, see this Bhagavad Gita sloka I learned helped me in today. So keep saying that. You will get those opportunities as you grow in age, but even now you will get some opportunities, right? So whenever you get the opportunity, practice. Practice maketh a man perfect. That is the saying in English. So you keep on practicing the meaning of applying the meaning of the slokas in our day-to-day life. See, these are very deep meaning, right? So this will help you in your life to a great extent, right? Um, so, um, so you're gaining the highest form of knowledge. You're appreciating key verses in their purest form. You're learning Sanskrit. By the end of the 101 slokas, if you remember the meanings, you would have learned quite a bit of Sanskrit, right? Which is really good because the all the treasure is in Sanskrit. All the ancient wisdom is in Sanskrit. And the knowledge is really timeless, right? It's so apply them and then memorize the 101 slokas. See, you have improved so much. For the first sloka, you took like 45 minutes. Now you are able to memorize in just like 10-15 minutes, right? So with practice, you improve. That's why they say practice maketh the man perfect. And even Bhagavad Gita, one of the later slokas, says the same thing. Practice, practice, practice. So memorizing the 101 verses with meaning. Meaning is important, right? See, there is a sloka, right? To pray to Parvati and Parameswara. There's a sloka, Vakardha Viva Sampruptau. So what that means is word and its meaning. Vak means word, Ardha means meaning. Just like you cannot separate word from its meaning, you cannot separate the the first father and mother, who are Parvati and Parameshwara. So word is always goes with meaning. So it is important to memorize the meaning also. Know the meaning of the words, know the meaning of the entire words, and practice that meaning in your day-to-day life. And then we are going to have fun with the knowledge, right? We will appreciate it in many ways. See, we are relating what we learned in Bhagavad Gita to machine learning and technology. We are seeing a lot of cool things. We are looking at how a fake image is generated, which looks very real. And we learned how self-driving cars work. We are learning how a self-driving helicopter works using reinforcement learning. So we are also having fun with knowledge. So knowledge is always fun. And then there is something called transfer learning. Just like reinforcement learning, there's something called transfer learning. So what you learn from one, did I talk about it in the previous class? May not, right? So what you learn from one domain, you apply to another domain. So if you have learned about, if the machine has learned to recognize cars, then the same thing can be used to recognize the same similar model can be used to recognize similar objects like maybe trucks, right? So that is called transfer learning in the machine learning world. So in our real world, you transfer learn. So whatever you learn in Bhagavad Gita and Sanskrit and other knowledge from various Vedas, if you have time, we'll go into Vedas also. So apply that learning to real life. You transfer that learning to real life. Otherwise, there's no point in spending so much time, right? So those are the goals of this course. So one is gain the highest form of knowledge, which will never fail. See, it has stood for billions of years, the knowledge. At least the Bhagavad Gita, which is considered the essence of Vedas, has been there for 5,000 years. For 5,000 years, people respected it, appreciated it. Even today in the modern world, in the Western world, who do not even know about Bhagavad Gita, they are talking about the same principles that the Bhagavad Gita laid down. So we are learning the supreme form of knowledge, and we are learning it at the purest form, in the purest form, which is in Sanskrit and directly the words uttered by the God, right? So it's a great opportunity. Okay, now let us look at the chapters of Bhagavad Gita, right? Or maybe not. We'll do that later. We're almost at the end of the hour. So any questions? No questions? Everything is clear? Okay, then we will close the session with a prayer, the usual prayer, right? Asatoma Sadgamaya tamasoma Jyotirgamaya mrityurma amrutam
Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Sarve jana sukhino bhavantu samasta sanmangalani santu. Okay. Memorize this sloka also, and see you in the next class next week.